I'm here to help women reset and rewild, to embrace and prioritize the pauses in order to reclaim their peace and power. I'm Dr. Michelle Peris, director of the Poppy Clinic and founder and CEO of the Wild Collective. As a disruptor, naturopathic doctor, wife, and mama, I've created a global movement and sacred space for women to rise together. Here, you'll break through limitations, romanticize your life, and unlock the magic of your divine feminine power. My life's work is rooted in community, lifting women into their most powerful, authentic selves, while empowering clinicians to elevate their practices with a transformational, community-driven model. I lead a thriving, passion-fueled business and naturopathic practice brimming with abundance, where I can guide women to invigorate their lives through sisterhood and elevate healthcare with a cutting-edge transformational approach. I've witnessed firsthand in my practice how this model sparks consistent health transformation, creates flourishing communities, and brings profitable success. You can have it all, a life filled with abundance, contagious joy, and untethered potential. So pull up a seat. It's time to pour into yourself and tap into your intuition and design a life that's wild, free, and uniquely yours. And I'm going to show you how. This is Wild Medicine. All right, welcome back to another episode of Wild Medicine. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Peris, and this week is the part 2 that ended up being created as a result of last week's episode, where I spoke a lot about going to this event in Calgary. And there were so many reasons I think it was a great idea for me to be there. And a lot of them I shared last week. But the thing I almost forgot about that I think is really important to highlight is, how much I hold the belief that my life is God-led, that everything is always happening for my highest and best good. And that when I feel like I'm in control, I tend to make a mess of things. And when I truly learn to surrender and trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should, that God has got it, which may make some of you uncomfortable, but this has been a reinforcing message for me over the last few years that is a growing relationship, and really want to highlight that because I feel like it's important. I think it's important because I think for a lot of us who are really hooked on the physical circumstances of things happening, and you think they're happening to you, or things are hard or not going to work out. When we have that kind of perspective, it's very difficult to see the magic and the beauty of all of it, even the challenge. And I'm human. Like, I'm not someone who, my husband would say, a spiritual giant. I'm not a spiritual giant. These, when things are hard, believe me, I'm having a temper tantrum. I am human. And I also have a growing relationship with a force greater than myself, and really starting to learn to rely on it. And a perfect example of this is being away and going to events where I don't really know anyone. And I did know a few people, but let me explain. The thought of having to enter somewhere by myself where I don't know most people, it gives me a level of anxiety that's hard to put into words. It's not rational, obviously, but it makes me very uncomfortable. I could see old patterns kicking up for myself, and I'm 43 at the time of this recording. And on day 1, I was messaging someone I knew, and I was like, if you're there before me, can you save me a seat? And I literally caught myself doing this. And she texted me back and she was like, well, there are no seats, so no. And I was like, why are you acting like this? Like, there is this inherent belief that I am not good enough to want to be friends with, or like, what if nobody likes me? What if I say something weird? And you might not know I struggle with these things, but I do. These are real struggles for me in the moment. And the reason I continually put myself in situations that challenge me is that I stupidly believe that this is good for me. But I'll tell you, in the moment, I don't want to do it. I really don't. I want to do anything but the right thing. the expansive thing. I'd rather shrink and stay small in the moment, not in life, right? Like, I don't really mean that, but in the moment, if I could like turn the car around and not go to the event, I would prefer that, would be my preference, right? Like, I don't want to do it. It scares me to be alone. It scares me to potentially have no one to talk to or feel like a loser. Like, it's hard for me. And yet I still do a lot of these events, but I usually like curate experiences where people will be with me. I'm never alone. Anyways, the last few years, I've been a lot better at pushing beyond that and going to events where there's no one to rely on. I don't know nearly anyone. There's no safe zone. So all of it feels unsafe. New environment, new people, new everything. I do it because it's good for me and I'm proud of myself and I learn a lot and I make new friends and I bust through old belief systems and patterns. My increasing reliance on God, of my understanding of a higher power, of this life force, has been instrumental. So if everything is happening for me, then challenge is there to help me stretch and grow and move beyond myself and to learn, fail forward, expand, grow my consciousness, break down old belief systems. Like, I just trust the process. And honestly, what I caught myself doing day one, trying to secure my seat, was the old, like, good girl patterns kicking in of not wanting to stand out or be seen or be alone and white knuckle my way through. I was trying to control every circumstance so nothing bad happened. And it felt like I was maybe annoying to the person that I wrote. And I was like, you can't keep doing this. Like, you are a 43-year-old woman. You're middle-aged. Like, stop. And so I made a commitment to myself after that moment. I was like, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to watch this beautiful relationship unfold, and I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust God has got it, and I'm just going to let myself have a total dependence on that belief and just watch my life unfold. So it did. And day two, I was like literally like shaking. My hands were shaking, like just send the text, ask if someone saved me a seat. And as soon as I put my phone down, I was like, nope, everything's going to work out just fine. And as I did that, I got a message on my phone, and beautiful women who are local to this incredible community texted me, and they were like, good morning. Just so you know, we saved you a seat. And it was like literally 2 seconds apart. Like, it was so obvious that that was something greater than me. And I got out of my own way and I felt cared for and I felt thought of. And it was such a wonderful feeling. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So I let everything unfold like that. I just let go. I'm someone, and you've heard me probably say it a million times, I'm someone who hyper controls and white knuckles her way through her life and would rather create a lot of tension and friction and resistance than to just let go. Because there's some semblance of safety that is created in me when I do that than to just let go. This episode is brought to you by the Wild Collective. If you are ready for something innovative, something truly transformational, you are wanting to build a beautiful life and thriving health and vibrant energy, and you're not sure how to build that in, you might want to consider something as incredible as the Wild Collective. The Wild Collective is our women's health initiative. It is a closed community of like-minded individuals. It is where sisterhood meets self-care. There's 10 modules of fundamental women's health, all the evidence-based information that you need, the testing, the handouts, the assessment, how to advocate for yourself in the wellness space. Also, what natural and integrative approaches you can consider for any age and stage in life. And being that it is part of a community, you also get this beautiful experience of meaningful connection, conversations that matter, and truly up-leveling your life. So if you are ready to take on something totally transformative and fun, then please go check us out at the Wild Collective. So that's the-wild-collective.com. Get on the wait list, and we will see you in one of our wild circles very soon. As my faith in God has grown, letting go is becoming easier. Not always, and I fail all the time. But to know that there's this divine force, it is helpful because it's not, I've talked about it many times, but having faith in something greater than yourself or surrendering, if you've never surrendered, if you've tried to control your whole life and you've never surrendered, and you start to surrender with not being, I wasn't raised in a faith, like these were things that were not concepts that were very familiar to me. It felt like I was falling into a black hole and I would just never come out. Like just keep falling. That's what surrender felt like to me. So it was very, very destabilizing and stressful. And so when I went through all the lived experiences I had up until this point, starting to learn surrender, I wanted to play with the concept of surrender and literally surrender to the situation. I had no control over seating. I had no control over any parts of my day. And I was like, I'm going to be okay with that. What if I'm just okay with that? What if everything is perfectly unfolding and I'm getting in the way of opportunities? I'm getting in the way of learning. So I got out of my own way and I just calmed down. And I ended up having like all these beautiful experiences and allowed myself to process grief, as I just talked about on the last episode. I had great conversations, made new connections. I really learned that I never was not being divinely supported. Like everything worked out beautifully and much better than had I tried to control it on my own. And I left my evenings open. I have family. So, if there was plans that were going to come up, I was open to anything. And I spent a lot of time alone. I walked around. It just was so lovely. It was a really wonderful time. And then day 3 kicked up and all of my feelings came back up because now it was the mastermind day and there was going to be less people there. And I really didn't know many people there. And the people who had saved me seats yesterday were not going to be there. And I was like, nope, I'm not going to send the text. I'm not going to send a text. I'm going to trust. And all of a sudden, minutes later, I get a message from my friend saying, where are you? I've saved you a seat and I've got someone I need you to meet. It was like everything was handled. And I think this is a beautiful analogy of life. That's why I'm giving you the in-depth experience of this. Actually, there's more to this story. It's crazy. So I sit at this table, and I'm sitting with all the speakers of the event. And I was like, what an upgrade. How cool is this? And someone who was there who I was really admiring and hoping to speak to, I literally had a different bag. The 2 days prior, I'd had a backpack that I carried and I wasn't really using my laptop. So I was like, oh, I'm going to bring this other bag. So I brought this other bag and that woman who I wanted to talk to, she was like, oh my gosh, I love your bag. It looks just like my phone. And we ended up having this beautiful conversation, making a really lovely connection and sharing with each other and expressing that we didn't know why we felt so comfortable with each other. And we exchanged phone numbers to stay connected. I had all these beautiful conversations with people at this event, creating business opportunities and new friendships and potential collaborations. And it was just like reinforcing message where my biggest fear is I'll be alone and no one will like me and I'm like the weirdo in the corner, is that I was never alone. Every time someone was maybe about to leave, someone new would come and talk to me. And it was like, I was just like this magnetic force of surrender and trust. And there was even someone else there at the event who said to me, like, I feel like I was supposed to come to this event just to meet you, which was such a lovely thing to say. And my point of this is, where is your level of faith on surrendering and trusting the process and trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should and you're being divinely guided? And where are you allowing yourself room to see the miracles unfold for yourself, like being just whisked away in the adventure of your life? I think this is really important because I think there is a beautiful life unfolding for all of us if we learn to just get out of our own way and trust the process and really start to sit with, what is this all for? I believe in a divine source. Do I have a faith? Do I have a reliance on something greater than myself? And how do I want to move through those pieces? How do I want to exercise that trust? How do I want to learn? And through that one conversation with that one person where I made a beautiful connection with, we talked about my childhood home and she was like, you really should go. And so I went and I saw this little girl and we had the cutest little conversation and all of it just felt very supposed to happen, important, meaningful, healing. When I left Calgary, I had a lot of feelings about it. I didn't feel overly great about a lot of things. And they're just little parts of your heart that you're like picking up along the way and like making peace with. And a huge part of that for me is the capacity to have faith in God and in something bigger than myself and to truly truly surrender and trust the process and just know that I am being divinely held and supported, that everything is happening for my highest and best good. And I just wanted to share that because I thought it was this beautiful, and my husband said to me, God doesn't always speak to you that clearly. And that's probably true and is true. But when you have those moments, man, is it amazing, because it is like just this wonderful experience of like, get out of your own way, stop gripping, stop white knuckling, stop holding on so tightly, and let something even better happen. That's always what happens, is that it's beyond comprehension, beyond anything I could have expected for myself. So stop shoulding and controlling. And if any part of that is still hooking you, then these are really good thoughts to contemplate on this week and to really start thinking about where that is for you. And if there's some opportunity that you can say yes to, where you can exercise this level of faith and opportunity to stretch and learn and have your mind expanded with all of this. So I hope on the path to rewilding and reclaiming our feminine power, surrender is a fundamental piece. And I just want to instill that trust and strength in you so that you can start to navigate this world entirely differently for your highest and best good. Stay wild. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wild Medicine. I am so grateful to have you here, and I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It helps us reach more incredible women just like you. And before you go, quick reminder, the information shared on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat any medical condition. Please consult with your healthcare provider for personalized advice and care. And if you're ready to take inspired action and dive deeper into your own health journey, please visit us at poppyclinic.com. Let's rewild and reset your health together.